Hello and welcome to another episode of Memento Malum. Today. In this episode we'll cover one news story, some commentary on that news story, some plant ID, and some updates. We'll start off with the one news story. One of the biggest problems in crops in general, but especially potato, is wireworm. I'll talk more about that in the next section. In the interview with Dr. Christine Nohana and Jason McCallum, it was found that buckwheat does a good job in managing wireworm by suppressing their movement, as well as helping out in managing diseases. This plant alongside brown mustard have a chemical called acetylsucrose that seems to have a known effect of causing hormonal imbalances within wireworms, preventing them from feeding for a time. The current researcher is currently trying to analyze whether or not it'd be profitable to synthesize a version of this chemical for use as a seed treatment or using buckwheat and brown mustard as a rotation crop. If it indeed is more profitable to use the plants as an insecticide itself, then simple crop rotations with one of these two crops, such as buckwheat or brown mustard, may be sufficient in suppressing wireworms in the affected areas. Now onto some commentary. Wireworms are one of the biggest problems in terms of pests within many field crops. These pests are exceptionally resistant to most insecticides. The most you can do with most insecticides is to stun them. A wireworm is the larval stage of a click beetle. Those beetles that when you pop them on their side, they flip back over again and make clicking sound. They're nearly impossible to detect except by root damage, as their larvae's favorite food is the seedling roots of different plants. Their larvae last 5 years in the soil, sometimes 2 years depending on the species. The most common way used to deal with this problem was to coat the seeds in insecticides. Prior to this, they would just mix up organophosphates and organochlorines and organofluorides in a big vat, dump the seeds in, and take them out. Neonic insecticides were first introduced to Canada as a much more user-friendly seed treatment. It was far less toxic than the organophosphates. There were no small amounts of fumes that penetrate the gas mask, gradually causing nerves to decay and die within your body, and so on and so forth. Although there are no insecticides that actually kill the wireworms, all the insecticides do would be, in this case, stun them. The wireworm takes a bite, then it cannot move for a couple weeks, and by the time those weeks pass, they're reawakened and begin chewing on the roots again, but by that point, the plants are big enough that it can overcome this detriment. So with the advent of the leftover chemicals of brown mustard and buckwheat hanging around the soil, this may be a suitable alternative to neonics. But there is this one part of the paper that has been referenced in this document, link in description, and a country guide article that's quite interesting. Both buckwheat and other crops change the biosphere around it, with the root system playing host to different species of bacteria. The species of bacteria and microbe differ from species to species, and the thesis I've referenced found some evidence that the bacteria that grow in the general vicinity of the root system of the buckwheat have some beneficial properties to the soil, as well as some antagonist effect on the wireworm populations, although she mentions more research needs to be done to learn the mechanism behind this process. Now onto the ID segment. Hello and welcome to the ID segment. All the plants in this segment will be covering plants from the olive family. All the flowers of this family have either this look or this look. They also have very similar seeds. And similar leaf venation. First, all family member will be talking about is Forsythia cross intermedia. The cross is a symbol for hybrid. Since this is a hybrid between two different species, the weeping forsythia and the Korean forsythia. And again, please excuse the poor title naming. I was in a rush when I last made that photo name. But the key means of identifying this plant is the serrated leaves. The pointed buds on each branch, and the fact that the leaves are opposite in orientation. The next plant on our hit list will be a close relative of the lilac, the Angistrum amorescens, or the amor privet. Like the other species we covered, leaves are opposite, but the leaves are also closely spaced within orientation and much more oval. They have flowers similar in look to a lilac, as well as in size. One key difference is that they're not fragrant, however. This is more of a shrub, less of a tree, and they're much smaller. Which may be a problem for most individuals, specifically me. I like fragrant flowers. This is a unique plant right here. It's Syringa mayeri palibin, or palibin lilac. The leaves are really tiny, as you can see right here. The flowers are also quite nicely smelling. And you can identify this plant by really tiny leaves that are far more round in shape, like a teardrop. The next plant on our hit list is Syringa reticulata, ivory silk, or ivory silk Japanese tree lilac. This has a very unique fragrance to it. Very good for June, July flowering. They do well as pavement trees because they do well in parking lots areas. Nicely fragrant, big leaves, but the most important way to identify them is that the flower buds and the leaf buds are brown. Next one on our hit list is a common lilac. Big dark leaves, big bushes often, green buds, and most importantly, very bright and cheery flowers. Definitely my favorite lilac. That about covers everything. Thank you for watching. To conclude, we'll finish up with updates. First things first, the story segment will be cancelled because I think I've exhausted all the little cute stories about different plant and animal breeds. Number 2, after this set of main series and alt-tech exclusive videos are pre-recorded, I'll begin making bonus videos for Thursdays, so they should be ready for next fall. This will not be a regular thing, just a small group of 9 videos for episodes that are way too short to be a regular episode. Also, if you want me to do a video on the buckwheat paper I referenced, and was referenced by the news article I'm citing, let me know, and I'll take it under advisement. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Cheers.